Hi guys, and welcome to Friday Live, where we're talking about the most searched topics by young people in Ireland this week. My name is Caelan. I'm the manager of Youth Work Ireland, Cavan Monaghan.
Hi guys, I am Cassandra and I am a detached youth worker with Youth Work Ireland, Cavan Monaghan.
Hi, I'm Melissa and I work on the Youth Information Project for Youth Work Ireland, Cavan Monaghan.
Hey, I'm Michelle. I work with Bounce Back Youth Service in West Cavan, along with Youth Work Ireland, Cavan Monaghan.
Okay guys, so we have a number of questions, quite different themes this week coming up. Some of them we've sort of touched on before, some of them are a bit new, but each of the questions are quite different from the last. So the first question I have for you this week is, I feel like everyone hates me. Everyone is ignoring me. My friends have blocked me. And it feels like they're all in a gang against me. I don't know what to do. So that's quite an alarming statement from a young person. But is it normal? Is that what young people are feeling right now? Michelle first.
Yeah, well, I think that because people feel that they can't meet up physically with the social distancing, that a lot's going on within social media and platforms like that. And it's very hard for some young people to engage with their friends through this platforms of, Facebook chats or Zoom meetings and that, because some young people I'm talking to are finding it very hard with no body language. They don't know how each other are actually feeling because they're just literally looking at each other's head and shoulders. And it's also causing a lot of anxiety. And sometimes young people don't know what to say. Like, I was chatting to a young person last week and she actually was saying that she Googles things on what conversations to chat with her friends with, because they're not meeting every day regularly and have the little gossips and the little chats. So they don't know what to actually chat about now. So that is causing some friction among young people at the moment.
Wow, okay. Melissa?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I actually agree with what Michelle is saying. And like, there isn't a lot going on. And I do find myself, even when I'm talking to my family and friends, I've no news for them because I haven't been anywhere. So, but like what that young person said, like, that's actually very hard and very kind of cruel, that if that's happening to her. And just to say that it is horrible, for somebody to be blocking you or everyone ignoring you, or basically, they're leaving her out if that is happening. And it can feel very lonely and very kind of isolated if something like that happens to you. And then because no one's speaking to you, that's when the paranoia starts of like, why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? What's the last thing that I said to them? What are they talking about now? What are they saying about me? So it creates a horrible feeling for that person of, now they really feel excluded. And, to that young person, I'd be, who can she trust, or who can they get support from that is someone that's nice to them? Is it somebody in their family, a sister, or whoever it is that they can chat to about it? Because at this point they need a bit of support and somebody to say, this isn't nice, what's going on. And do you need those kind of people in your life?
And Sandra, someone spoke to me recently and said there's a difference in nice and kind. A nice person will agree with you, whereas a kind person will disagree with you if they feel you need to be disagreed with. Is it still important to be kind?
Yeah, I agree with that person. Oh my God, if not, like, more than ever, it's important to be kind. Like, crazy. I feel so bad for that girl, for anybody going through stuff like that with friends it's difficult, as Michelle and Melissa were saying, with all this social media, even yourself, it's difficult. I suppose I definitely agree with Melissa with if you even have one person that you can trust, and that will support you, that's the most important thing, is to grab on to those, and try, as hard as it is, we've all been there, as hard as it is to, leave that maybe in the past, as hurtful as it is, block them as much as you can out of your life, from social media, and try your best, I suppose, not to be thinking of what they've said, of what they've done, and grab onto the person that you really can trust, whether it's family, as Melissa said, or, you know, somebody else. Just grab onto those people. And if you know anyone in that situation, try to support them, you know. So it's really important to be kind as much as we can right now, you know, and offer as much support as we can.
Yeah, and there's two sets of advice then. There's advice to anyone in that situation, anyone who feels like they are being excluded and left out. But there's also an important sort of lesson, probably an uncomfortable lesson for a lot of us, in terms of if we are the people that are excluding. This is a difficult time. It's probably quite a lonely time for a lot of people, and for young people in particular, you know, it's a very difficult and lonely time. So yeah, be kind, be nice, and be friends. Okay, are we happy enough with that? And we'll move on to question 2, which is, my dad is at home all the time now since the lockdown, and my parents are fighting all the time with each other and with us. Being in the house is unbearable, and I share a room with my sister, so for me, I feel like there's no escape. Cassandra.
Yeah, this is a difficult one. You know, especially because we can't go anywhere at the minute. We can't really meet up with friends or go places. I suppose it's, if you can, when other people are having an argument, if you're not, you know, directly involved or whatever, it's to try and take yourself out of that situation, even if you can only go to the garden, you know, just get out, don't react. It's usually, a lot of the time, it's how we react to situations that hurts us the most, you know, because we get so involved or whatever. So my only advice in that situation, just because it's so hard to get out, is try your hardest to get out of that situation, even if you just leave the room, or, you know, and try as hard as it is not to react, you know, to anyone, you know, that's giving you a hard time. As I know it's very easy to say that when you're not in that situation, but I find, you know, if you just kind of walk out of a situation, even just leave the room anytime it's happening. And also, if you need any help, just remember that it's okay to ask for help. We're always online. Also, like, if you're in trouble, you can call the guards, or, you know, there's lots of stuff online that you can find that will help you. And just do not be afraid to ask for help. And also that this is going to end. Better days are going to come. This is not what it's going to be like forever, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're quite right in saying that supports are there for all of the issues, and there's a lot of issues in that statement, in that message from a young person. Melissa, in terms of coping mechanisms, Cassandra sort of talked about removing yourself, but in terms of other things, other structures, other little techniques that work for young people, are there tips, or is it a completely individual thing?
Yeah, well, what I wanted to say first is just like there's an issue around we're all in the house together, and we're not used to that. So it might be that one person was used to being at work all the time, or two people, or then we also had school as an outlet. So the first thing when this thing happened of lockdown, I was thinking, oh my God, all of these people are all going to be in the same house, that we're not used to doing that. So it's to kind of even accept that this isn't normal, and we're not used to it. And even I've been saying, you know, like, my children are getting fed up with each other, they're getting fed up with me, you know, and saying, I'm going to, like Cassandra was saying, I'm going to remove myself from this. Let's you go up to your room, I'll go up to my room, you know, and it's okay to say we're sick of each other, you know. And like, taking 5 minutes, like I've taken to sitting out on the front porch for 5 minutes and kind of saying, you know, I've had enough for a wee while. So it depends on the young person and how it's distressing them. That if it could be that they're good at art, it could be that they like listening to music, it could be kicking a ball against the wall, you know. It could be writing down all your feelings and then scrunching the paper up really tight and throwing it at the wall. So the point is like, even if you have to get anger out, it's to try and do it in a safe way. So it might be punching a cushion or something like that, And that's preferable than punching the wall, because you're going to damage the wall and you're going to damage your fist. So anything to do with anger, try and do something that's safe, that you either through exercise is a good way of releasing anger. But if you don't want to do that, maybe drawing, even if you get a marker or a crayon or a color and pencil and you really color really kind of hard, that it will get some of it out for you, or different, even using different colors. That all of those things can help. So depending on your personality, it probably depends how you want to kind of release stress or release anger. As you can tell, I've done that one.
No, I've enjoyed your acting. There'll be no need for subtitles. And one of the other things we're all taking away from that answer is that Melissa has a porch, so la-di-da. But no, of course, you're absolutely right. And one of the things, of course, that's important is it doesn't have to be a bedroom, but it is important to be able to find some space, or to make a space that is workable for you. Michelle, in terms of making a space and having that, any sort of thoughts in terms of how that can work?
Yeah, well, I think we're all, and I'd just like for that young person to think that they're not the only, family or person that's experiencing this. Myself as a youth worker, and I'm sure the rest of you, we were so used to leaving the house early in the morning, not coming home till late in the evening, saying a quick hello, getting a bite to eat. So I'm struggling too, even at home with, at certain days with my family. But I think a lot of it can be too is communication, that you're feeling like this, but you don't realize maybe your sister, your parents are also maybe feeling the same or have issues too. So I think maybe there's a piece about maybe the family sitting down together and talking through and expressing exactly how you're feeling, letting that sister know that it annoys you the way she doesn't make her bed in the morning, or that she's constantly in the room when you're in it. And I think it's a bit about maybe even coming together and doing things as a family, maybe like family games, a bit of, different activities for getting out, but also maybe a bit about a routine about maybe if herself and her sister says, right, well, in the evenings or Monday, Tuesdays, I'm having the bedroom on my own from 6 to 8 because I want to do my music or my art, or release my anger out through my artwork, as Melissa was saying. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you can have it. So I think mainly it is about communicating, but also just to let that young person know that they're not alone and what they're feeling is normal at the moment. And there's a lot more than them feeling like that.
Yeah, and you highlight something very, very important there, which is that it's an unusual situation for everyone, and there's an element of maybe trying to understand where other people are coming from as well, where mom and dad are coming from, and where your siblings are coming from. But certainly, I think you're right in saying communication is really important. Some young people, that will be a challenge, and again, in those situations, it's about finding what works in your setting, what works for you. Okay, we're moving on now to sort of some stuff around third level education. I know we've talked recently quite a lot around, of course, leaving cert and how that has left some young people feeling. But one of the groups who we haven't been talking about a huge amount, but who are in a similar sort of limbo, as it were, are the third level students or college and university students. And I know, Cassandra, I'd like to start by just maybe throwing it to you in terms of what has your experience been over the last few months in terms of your college career?
Well, it's been completely different to anything I've ever known, obviously, like being at home, as Michelle was saying there, like usually you're there to sleep and that's about it, but being at home constantly is it's difficult in itself. But we have had to meet deadlines just as if we were in college. All the deadlines were there, but you were missing that interaction every day with lecturers and your class, where you find support through that, going in every day going, have you got this done, or how do you do this, or whatever. It's so much easier to get through it when you're together, and although the work was a focus, it was something to focus on, and it did get me through the first couple of weeks. It was very difficult. It was very, very difficult and completely different to what we know. So it's hard, it is very hard.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And I suppose, what are you clear on what's next?
No, because I've actually just finished up my college course. And again, that's a crazy thing, because usually you would be going straight into, you know, applying for jobs, or, you know, looking for new jobs and things like that. But we don't know when we're going to be able to do that, or, you know, what's in the future. When will we be able to do it? Or, you know, or even for students who are going back to college in September, like the questions, you know, coming in saying about accommodation and things like that, like it's completely unknown. You don't know when things are going to go back to normal.
Okay. And I know there was a question, or a sort of a topic came in around accommodation, and that's been really sort of prevalent over the last few weeks. Some people are looking at distance learning. Some people are looking at having to double up placements going forward, so they'll only be in college, potentially in Dublin or wherever they are, for a limited amount of the year, a vastly reduced amount of the year than what they would normally be. So in terms of that, you know, Melissa, what should they do? And I've got one question in front of me which sort of references that, which is that this person has just finished their first year of college, and they don't know whether they should be looking to even book accommodation, because there's the potential for distance learning, but they may not be in Dublin enough. So is there any advice around that?
It's a really difficult question, because it's where we're all at in the uncertainty of the moment that we're in it now. And the answer is that I actually honestly don't know, but it's that the colleges as well are trying to come up with ideas, as well as the schools, as well as ourselves, everybody, of what's the plan? How do we get back to some sort of normality? And because there's speculation of whether, you know, is some of your work going to be distance learning? Are you going to be half the week or half the day in college? So it's a really difficult one then to be thinking, God, do I need to be looking for accommodation here? So I really feel for students in terms of the limbo that they're in. And the only advice is to ring your actual college or to email them and try and get some sort of idea of what their framework is going to be, of trying to get them, you know, looking at it. So I don't know what the answer is. It's very difficult to know.
Okay. Yeah, and I think, look, there's no right answer is probably the answer. But Michelle, should people be leaving at last minute, or should you be trying to put some sort of plan in now? Do we have any shape on it?
Yeah, see, it's very difficult, because some young people that I spoke to actually only during the week there was about, they paid up their fees for their accommodation in February for the rest of the year, over maybe say 2,000, and they were there till the second week in March, which, you know, it's very, so you put that fear factor in. Is it worthwhile putting money into more accommodation for next year? But also, you know, young people are saying how sad it was. You went to your accommodation, you packed up like black bin liners, headed off. There was nobody there to say goodbye to, your friends, your classmates. And it's, you know, it's the unknown really. But it's a bit about, as Melissa said, communication, getting in contact with, you know, your uni, your college or that. But even maybe the possibility of setting up a group WhatsApp with other students to see what they're suggesting.
Okay.
If they have any ideas of what's going to happen or going forward, or maybe are they planning on looking accommodation, or what is their suggestions, or have they heard anything from other peers?
And Cassandra, are you aware of any mechanisms within the colleges themselves which students can link in with, or
well, with my college, we have had weekly correspondence from them. So every week they would send an email, you know, with updates and things for us, for any queries we had regarding exams and all that kind of stuff. So again, I wouldn't know personally, but I would definitely email your college and see if they know anything about accommodation or what to do, or maybe dates, or maybe if you should go ahead or not. I think that's the best advice. They might be in a better position to answer that.
Okay. So we'll move on. Someone else has just finished their first year of college. Don't think it's the same person. Might be, but this person has just finished their first year of college. And Melissa, they're asking if they need to reapply for the SUSI grant. Do they need to apply for that again, or will they get it automatically?
Okay, so if they've finished first year in college and they're intending to go into their second year, they should get an email, and the email is about renewing their application, their grant application. So it's not like you start from the start. It's not like you go into SUSI and you start a totally new application. That's not what you do. But you should have got an email, and in the email it will get you to, like, it's to fill in. It's a smaller, more compact form, but it is asking you, has there been a change in circumstances? Are you continuing on in the same course? All of that kind of stuff. So some students think, oh, I have, if they're doing a 4-year course, oh, I have the grant for the 4 years. And, they do, but they still need to fill this in to say, like, I'm continuing on. So it's so that SUSI definitely knows that you're keeping on going. So the closing day for that is the 11th of June, which is coming up fairly quickly. So it might have been something that went into your email, you kind of forgot about. And if you didn't get the email, get on to SUSI and ring them or send them an email to get that sent out to you. But you don't start with a whole new one if you're just going into second year or third year or fourth year.
Okay, I'll spin it a little bit then in terms of what if you are starting a new course going back into first year?
Yeah, so if they did first year, you're saying, and now they're not doing, they finished that and now they're going to do another course.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So if it is the same, so just say they did a level 5 and now they're going to do a level 6, they do have to send in a grant application form. And if they got it before and nothing's changed, they probably will get it because they're progressing up the ladder. So when you're applying for a grant, you always have to be going on up. You can't do the same level again. If somebody was in first year and they just decided that they didn't like the course and they're leaving it, they're dropping out, so the course was longer than a year, and they're going back to do another course, something else, something totally different, but it's the same level. So if it's the same level, they won't get the grant for that year. So just say they're both courses were a level 5, the grant won't kick in then until year 2, because it's like SUSI's not paying you for the same thing twice, if you want to kind of put it that way, but it will kick in second year. So it's kind of weighing up, is it worth just kind of enduring the year where they don't get the grant and then they will get it back in second year. So that's why it's very important, if you're not happy with your course, not to prolong it, have your chats with your career guidance or your course tutor, but not to kind of hide that you're not going to college anymore, because you'll continue to get the grant and then it will affect you when you want to go back the next year. That was the long-winded answer.
No, but it was, I think it's very important to highlight that if you are progressing and you're moving up through levels, then SUSI remains available. But as you say, they're not paying you twice. Now, obviously there are different little exemptions built in next year due to COVID and due to predicted grades and all that kind of stuff, but that's very much the way it operates. In terms of supports, obviously there are the SUSI grant posters circulating on the Youth Work Ireland social medias. We'll comment them below, and they can contact yourself and the rest of your team in Youth Work Ireland Youth Information, Melissa.
Yeah, they can, yeah.
And what are the times for that?
It's 2 to 6 Monday to Friday, and we can do it through just on the phone, or if you want to do a Zoom call and we can go through the form on the Zoom call, we can do that either. So whatever kind of suits you, but it's kind of, maybe getting on to doing the SUSI grant now, because you know, the whole thing about the calculated grades is kind of, you know, they can't do anymore. They literally can't do anymore. So it's kind of thinking forward of that you are going to be going to college, hopefully, and to get on to that a bit, Susie.
Okay, excellent. And I suppose just to highlight something we talked about before, you do not have to wait until September and a definite answer. You can get your Susie application in now. Cassandra, I want to come back to you just to finish up with a question. You mentioned earlier that normally, as you are finishing college, you'd be in the job market, you'd be looking for jobs. What's the general feeling around the jobs market for new graduates, as it were, coming out of college now?
Well, I suppose it's the same. You know, you are still looking, and you're looking at your interests and things like that. But a lot I find of, you know, if you go onto ActiveLink and stuff, a lot of people aren't hiring because we don't know when COVID-19 is going to come to an end. And I suppose it's a very strange feeling. You're in college for a couple of years, you're building yourself up to the day that you finish so you can go and do your job, you know. And it's just the feeling of unknown, I suppose. But just to remember that it will be okay. You just have to, you know, go through the motions, and we'll all get there, you know. It's just about waiting it out and seeing what's happening. But yeah, it's a strange feeling because you're waiting forever for this day, and then, you know, it's a strange feeling.
Yeah. And Michelle, there will be life after COVID, won't there?
There definitely will be. There's plenty of life at the minute, even with COVID. But no, there is. And you know something, we're getting there. And I just think this brilliant weather, it's more of a challenge for us to remember our social distancing and when we're out and about. And it is great that we can get out and meet, you know, at the minute, 3 other people from outside our family outside. But I would just encourage to remember, the more we practice our social distancing and our 2 meters and all our washing of our hands and that, the quicker we will get through this, because we really are doing so well. And especially to our young people out there that we haven't got to see. I saw some of them there during the week. We were doing some programs and I got to see some of them from a distance, and they are trying hard. And I know that they're missing the youth service and their friends and everything else. But I do think I just encourage them to keep it up. And us as adults too, we have to practice what we preach, you know, and show our young people that this is what is important, because we do need to get back into our normal living, as whatever that's going to be. But we do need to get back into our youth hubs and youth centres and that to get the ball rolling, because I can't wait.
And look, I know from talking to everyone in Youth for Ireland, Cavan Monaghan, and from talking to all of our partner agencies right around Cavan Monaghan, even nationally, it's not just you missing us, but we are missing you, and we are missing the crack as well. So the sooner we can get to that, the better. And I know that a lot of services now are issuing their roadmaps back, and we're certainly issuing ours next week. And yeah, it's an exciting time. We cannot wait to get back to seeing everyone again. Okay, guys, that is all we've got time for. Just before we go, I want to highlight that due to scheduling next Monday, we are going to be pushing the LGBT live stream back until 5:30 on Tuesday evening, and the rest of our programs for the rest of the week continue as normal. Wednesday night will be the parents, and Friday we'll be back with Friday Live. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday at 5:30 for LGBT+.